Hello, Epic Gamers. I'm here with Psychedelic Actualization. I'll show you his channel quickly. I don't know how I found this guy exactly, but I just thought his channel was very interesting. I like his style. He has a lot of experiences with many psychedelics, like he done LSD five five times in 1 week, like 2 days ago. He made that video. He's done a lot of 5-MeO DMT, and he's out here like taking DMT in caves, live trip reports. It's a bit of a madness. And Leo Gura of Actualize.org actually follows him on Instagram as well. So I literally just reached out to him and I said, literally this morning, do you just want to hop on and have a conversation? Because we both have mad experience. Hopefully we can bring some value to you. And then here we are, like a few hours later. And yeah, so how are you today? I don't even know your real name. I don't know if you want to disclose that, but how are you?
So my name is Virgo from Psychedelic Actualization. It's good to be here. I like these spontaneous events. It's like just like messaging and then connecting with like-minded people. It's amazing. I feel good today.
Me
it's
as well.
Monday, and I've been working a little bit on the YouTube channel, so I'm feeling good. How are you?
Literally, I'm like the exact same. I've been grinding on the YouTube. I've been feeling really good. And yeah, I'm just really happy you're here, and I can't wait to have a speak. So I don't know, is there anywhere you want to start particularly, or no? So I guess I will ask just what is your. So I've read your bio. So when I'm asking, it's like I already know, but I wonder if you can like elaborate. It's like, so you psychedelic actualization. And actualization is like bringing to fruition and manifesting, or like, and your kind of about page is using psychedelics as powerful tools of, I would say, self-discovery and nature of reality. So like, what's your kind of like whole niche, if you can sum it up for, you know?
Yeah, very short. It's psychedelic actualization stands for using psychedelics, as you said, for self-actualization, for self-discovery, for discovering like your own true nature, the true nature of reality, and just like to get to know yourself, integrate your experiences so that you can make your life a lot better, that you can enjoy life and live it from the heart, authentically, and like enjoy the whole journey of this life, and like work towards your highest potential. So that's basically what it's about, because that's been always my journey with psychedelics. What, like from the beginning, when I started to use psychedelics when I was, I don't know, 16, I got into it from the root of like self-actualization and self-discovery. First of all, it was this kind of curiosity, and then I just all my experiences, all my first experiences were alone, just like discovering this whole realm, this whole psychedelic realm for myself, and then using that to, I don't know, discover my life purpose, using that to discover what happiness means for myself, what my true authentic expression looks like in the world and everything. And then I figured out it's like, oh, many people don't use psychedelics in that way, like consciously for self-improvement or self-actualization. And I was like, that's where kind of the whole idea for the channel came from. And just like I love to share everything, just like being completely open about everything, and that's how the channel like came about. So I would just share my perspective and put it out there into the psychedelic community.
I feel we can relate definitely on just in general. I started psychedelics the same, just in my room a lot, and then just discovering many challenging trips, many profound boundary dissolving experiences. And then the what you're saying about how people don't, you have a video called Psychedelics Are Still a Secret, and what you say in this video is that people don't know what psychedelics are. People think they know what psychedelics are, and a prime example is there's a heavy stigma in our culture, especially, of, you know, oh yeah, you took drugs and you went crazy. You know, it's like, my dad said to me, could you talk to the tree before you took the mushrooms? And I was like, well, no, but but it's like Terence McKenna said, He said, there's many people who take LSD in raves and parties and they have no idea what it's capable of. And the assumption, a lot of people think that we believe what we see. We think we take it and then go, aha, obviously this is the case. Not necessarily. You would agree on me that, one, when you take a psychedelic, it's inherently you confront a infinite realm of dual multiplicity a lot of the time, or many other states, so you confront something that is radically unfamiliar and alien, regardless of any idea you form about it. And two, they are certainly capable of generating powerful spiritual experiences of a wide range, and you would agree on me that, right?
Definitely. That's what I've discovered as well. Like talking to people, meeting different people, using psychedelics. Many people are just like dabbling into it a little bit, using it for fun, and still like being in the external world while having the experience. And like you can use psychedelics in different ways. You can of course do that and be in the external and have a lot of fun with different people. But that's like one facet of the psychedelic experience. When you put on the eye shades, you put on the headphones, and you just lay in your bed and just like have maybe an intention, a question that you want to answer, and then you focus in on that question, fully let go and see what appears. That's a whole different kind of using psychedelics. Because that's where, at least what I've found for myself, that's where I go the deepest. Because I'm completely shut off from the world, from the external sensors, so I can just deeply contemplate a topic and see what comes up. And then even just like that, as you said, there's kind of spiritual truth are revealing themselves, and even that is kind of a difficult topic, because you still, like afterwards, while being in your ordinary state of consciousness, you still have to contemplate it further and like piece all the puzzle pieces together to get an understanding for yourself. Because you can also experience something really weird, and then and when you take it for face value, you have a weird belief about reality. But still, it's good to question even that, what you experience in psychedelic experiences.
100%.
But
yeah, go on. I didn't mean to cut you off if you wanted to.
No, continue.
So there's a few things. Well, first of all, what you just said, there's definitely potential for delusion. Like my friend went into it to quit smoking cigarettes, and he came out of it with a list of excuses of why smoking is part of the matrix and it's actually okay. And then and it's not bad for you. I was like, okay. And then so the main thing you said about the external world interaction. One, it's best to stay away from the external world. One like small story I have is I was trying to light a joint while I was melting on like 7 grams of mushrooms. And I lost the lighter, so I thought, alright, I'll have to use the toaster. I had no other choice. And I wanted this joint. And then it was really, really taking me out. And then I fucking spilt a drink while fucking around in the external world onto nearly a socket under my desk and a toaster. And I was like, I need to get the fuck out of the external world before I set this house on fire. So that's not originally what I was going to say, but it's like, I've had like maybe 70, 75 trips of mushrooms, mainly, some LSD. Mainly, when I first began, I was very external. Nature walks, I actually took them, I know what you've been, but I've taken, I can't say some things just because of the law, I don't want to get in trouble, to be fair. So I won't tell you all of the environments I took them in. But anyway, in short, I was very much external. And then obviously Terence McKenna says, the real deal is a heroic dose, maybe 5 grams, depends on your body weight, of dried psilocybin mushrooms, if we're talking about those, or just any psychedelic, in silent darkness. Or music as well can be very profound. But that is not something I've done until my more recent experiences, and when you do the silent darkness, that is really where it is. That is where you go into the intense visionary states. If you're just fucking around outside, looking around, like moving stuff around, it's still very profound, no doubt. But if you want to go into a full blast vision, I think you'd agree, it's in silent darkness where that is to be found.
Yeah, silent darkness is great. But also I like nature. I love like, for example, having DMT experiences.
Yeah.
At like the dosages where you don't leave your body. in nature, or even where you leave your body, still being in nature, surrounded by nature, like complete nature, no human being around, and then like even coming out of that experience and being surrounded by trees or in the mountains or close to a river. It's like adding something really sacred to the experience. Of course, you can have sacred experiences in your room as well, just as sacred. But I still like nature. But also, you got to be careful with nature because there's a lot of stuff you cannot predict. There can be humans around. There can be wild animals around, like a snake, a poisonous snake or something. So you still got to be a little bit careful. You can get lost very easily.
Terence says, sorry, go on.
But when you know what you're doing, it's really nice.
Yeah, well, it's well, see, Terence says he's like, I don't go outside much because, he said, motorbike gangs will arrive, grizzly bears will attack. It's like, it's weird outside.
It is.
Especially on psychedelic, because the roots of the psychedelic trip are like so metaphysical and fundamental that basically anything can happen. So you want to control the environment, but I cannot agree more. Nature, the most profound experience still to this date, really, it was ages ago. Probably, well, not the most profound, but it was just a walk in nature on 3 tabs of LSD. I don't know what the dose was. The visuals, the beauty, infinity, like seeing sacred geometry coating the sky and shit, and it's like, it's, when you see the trees swaying in like heavy wind, it's just like so massive, you can't fucking believe it.
Mm-hmm. It's true. It's magical. It's very true.
So right, one thing I've never touched, DMT. Obviously, I would fucking do it at any, and I'm planning to go to an ayahuasca ceremony ASAP. It's more of a money situation for me right now, but I mean, I know this is a hard question. DMT, normal DMT, which is NN-dimethyltryptamine, and we'll get to 5-MeO as well, if you would. For newcomers who've never done it, and this is me just asking, what can I expect if I take a full dose of DMT? I mean, you can't really tell me, not really, but what would you say? What is DMT?
What is DMT? That's a good question.
Good luck with that one.
DMT is magic. It's magic in power form. Yeah, for your first DMT experience. First of all, what I discovered with my journey with DMT is it's not that easy to smoke that much. You gotta take in a lot of smoke to actually have like a full-on breakthrough experience. So I even enjoy, and I even recommend maybe for people who are wanting to try DMT to dabble into lower doses of DMT. Because I started taking DMT with the thought of like, okay, 3 big hits, you gotta break through.
Yeah.
It's like, that's the thing. And to this day, I don't know if I've ever broken through on NN DMT. And I've had hundreds of DMT experiences or Changa experiences. And I've left my body and I've met entities, but still like the term of a breakthrough is kind of vague for me because every experience is so unique, so special. It's got something to teach you. And it's like, of course you can go higher, of course you can go further. And I'm on my way, but you got to refine your technique. You got to see, like, to take in as much smoke as you want to take in. So, for example, I've been giving Changa ceremonies. I started to give DMT to people, which is something I'm kind of starting for myself because that's what I feel like is my true purpose, to share this experience. And I started with lower doses, and sometimes people just even take just a tiny hit, just like, and that's it, just like, and then even in exhaling immediately, like, and then they're out, they're in the experience. I'm like, hey, you want to take another hit? It's like, no, completely out, not able to answer anymore. So first of all, what you gotta expect, what you gotta know is it comes on very fast when you smoke it. At least in the form of ayahuasca, it's a bit different. But when you smoke it, it comes on immediately. You take the hit, you feel it, and then you got to focus to take the next one if you want to, and hold it in, and then the experience completely starts to unfold. And then if you want to go further, you're really going to focus, because maybe you're not going to know what a lighter is anymore, what a pipe is anymore, how any of this stuff in the material world works. And then you still got to focus, or you have somebody there that's telling you or guiding you to and pushing you to take the next hit, so that you can fall deeper into this DMT realm. Well, yeah, that's DMT. I love DMT. It is different than LSD or mushrooms, for example, because it's so short acting in the smoke tryptamines. It's so short, and there's so much happening, and it's so far out that oftentimes, at least for me, it's quite hard to comprehend what is happening, because it's so beyond our human understanding of reality. So you have this weird experience. Maybe you're meeting entities, maybe you're having visions or visuals, or maybe you're just in nature with open eyes looking around you, and then you're quickly out of that space again, and you're like, wow, what was that? And oftentimes I don't know what to make out of it. It's like, okay, I had this experience, but I don't know how to integrate it. So with DMT, for example, I just keep the experience in my heart, and I kind of try to live in that presence and take that presence with me in my day to day. And yeah, for example, also the difference is, I don't set intentions for DMT sessions anymore. First, I when I started, I was like, okay, intentions are good for psychedelic experiences, so I'm gonna intend to meet God on this DMT trip or something, or know something, discover something about the nature of love. And then I took the DMT, and something completely different happened.
It's literally just like you smoke it, and the intention is just dissolved, and it's just like
the
you just
intention
get
is gone.
pummeled with.
Yeah, right. Because with psilocybin or LSD, you can navigate the space a little bit, at least in the moderate doses, and you can work through your intentions maybe, and even focus on them. But with DMT, it's different.
I definitely agree. So the way Terence puts it is like psilocybin will take you by the hand, and it will take you through, like, in my experiences very often, it's like an emotional journey, twists and turns. You often get twisted visions, and you have insights. You can still think, like, you realise many profound things, but it's more of like a journey through like some mystical visionary state often. And then DMT, what I interpret it is it's just like, it kind of reminds me of some of my peak breathwork experiences, kind of. It's like, if I do this mad breathwork, I literally just lose all control, and then when my thinking is capable of resuming, I'm like, what was that? But while I was in it, I was full spinning, but you can't really, like, it's just, you it's so full blast and so full intensity that you're just immersed in a landscape that you can't even form words about. So it's like, it's hard to gain an insight, because it's literally just light beings flying around you, going through your body in madness. So it's like, you don't know what to make of it, right?
Exactly. And also, you mentioned Terence now a couple of times. I love Terence. I love his talks. I love listening to him.
Mm-hmm.
I love his ideas. Crazy guy. What I discovered on my journey, and what I want to share maybe for everybody who's listening, is like with psychedelics, especially, what I've discovered is your psychedelic journey is very unique. So your psychedelic experiences are very unique. Terence, for example, he likes to talk a lot about the elves, the machine elves in the DMT space. He likes the gnomes and the beings and the little tiny beings, the green little man in the psilocybin experiences. And I was listening a lot to Terence before I ever embarked on my first psychedelic journey. And then those ideas from him and his descriptions of those experiences were in my head while I was having my first experiences. And then I discovered over the experiences and over the years, it's like, my experiences are totally different. I've never met those little gnomes. I've never, like, machine elves maybe kind of entities, yeah, but still like very different from what he describes. And it's just like very, very important to keep in mind that your psychedelic experiences are unique to you, and that's okay that way. Like you don't have to reach for the machine elves, you don't have to reach for the gnomes. If they want to show up, they will show up at one point or another in your journey. But just like expecting them or reaching for them is, I think, not the right way, because you just gotta open yourself up and see what happens. And when whatever happens is just like a personal journey about working through traumatic stuff from a family, then that's what the experience is like.
I 100% agree. And then it's also you have a video that every psychedelic experience is different, and that's the case with me. It's like you can't trip twice and go to the same realm. Barely, not really. It's very like, again, because it's so metaphysical and its roots are in the chemistry, the dose, your physiology at the time, your brain chemistry, your environment, your social matrix of what's going on with your family, and then your job, and then all of this so it's like basically impossible, because what I know psilocybin and LSD do, they just hyperconnect the brain as if it's normally in like 10% connection. But when you take psilocybin, if you look at the brain scan, it's just like full-blown hyperconnected. So because of your physiology changing all of the time, it's like it basically cannot be the same. And that's what Psych Substance says. He visited them a year later and they were literally indistinguishable. And then another point is that it's not just... So the psychedelic experiences are different for everybody, definitely. But it ties into... It's actually... I discovered an insight for myself reflecting on one of my friends. His spiritual journey, it's not just the psychedelics that are different for everyone across the board. It's actually... Everyone has their own spiritual journey, and everyone approaches it from a different place, from different traumas, from different... so my way, I have like quite like a more like a feminine approach, more like Terence kind of, and I'm much more into like Eckhart Tolle and enlightenment that way. And then my friend, he's like some mad like physical, he like literally like induces pain on purpose for some like transcendence, and he reads all these like ancient scriptures of these like mad warriors, and that's his form of spirituality. Everyone's got a different path, everyone's playing a different game.
Yeah,
You can't expect
very
people
true.
to play your game.
Very true. Just as like every relationship is different, every life is different. That's how it is with spirituality, with like your philosophy, and with psychedelic experiences as well.
So can I ask, the actual... Terence again speaks of when you take the DMT, he says there's something called like the chrysanthemum or something, some like thing that you meet that eventually breaks through and you go into. But not only that, he says there's like, you smoke it and there's like this mad frequency like, and then this thing. Is there like a traditional like come up that you can recall, that the same shit you're like, oh, it's happening, and you know where you're about to go? Or
Mm, It's very unique for every experience. Over the DMT experiences I've gathered is there are different buckets of DMT experiences kind of for myself.
mm,
So sometimes I'm out in nature and I smoke the DMT and I get like the sacred geometry in the outside. And when I just close my eyes, there's not much happening. So I'm very unique. I don't get closed eye visuals on DMT, or just like very rarely, very vaguely. So I don't break through into that space as he talks about it. The frequency is kind of the same. Sometimes, like very oftentimes it's there, sometimes it's not, but it's like, and it just pitches higher and higher and higher and higher. That's definitely the case. And when that sound appears, usually when I take one or two hits more, then I like go out and leave my body. But I don't like travel through this tunnel. I just like it happens in seconds. I don't even recognize it. Like, and then boom, I'm there. I'm in a different space.
is it?
Um, hmm?
Oh, you can go on if you want. Well, I
No,
did it. So
continue.
Terrence again. He oh, what did he say? Fuck. Hopefully I don't forget what I was about to say. Oh yeah, he says like when you break into that space, if you break, well, whatever. He says that there's almost like a moment of hysteria. I don't know if that's the right word. Where I think he says it like it's almost like time stops. It's kind of like you get in there and it's kind of like a shock, and you like check your meters and you're like, fuck. It's like you can't anticipate it. When you smoke it, there's like a moment where you're like, whoa, holy shit.
Yeah, right. And even after you've been there, you're like shocked every time you go. Every time I go there, it's just like, oh wait, where am I and what am I doing here and who are those guys over there? And sometimes for some people, it's that sense of breaking through. I mean, maybe we're entering different rooms of this hyper reality. Sometimes it's a feeling of homecoming, of connection, of being welcomed, of love, of like, oh, I'm home. Oh, this is familiar. This is what a lot of people talk about when they break through into that space. But sometimes people report back kind of the opposite. They broke through into this space and then all of a sudden they felt kind of out of place. They felt like they didn't belong here because all those beings are around. They're kind of looking at them, looking at you. It's like, what is this guy doing here? He doesn't belong here. And then the experience can also go like that. And I've friends experience that. It's like, oh, all those beings were like just looking at me and like not knowing what to do with me. It's like, oh, another one of those humans over there. So yeah, depends. Very different for everybody. Very different with each experience. You cannot generalize it.
Yeah, you're definitely right. Again, is there any particular direction you want to take it in? I do have some, but if you don't.
Well, we can talk about different substances. We can talk about psychedelics, psychedelic integration, integrating psychedelics into our work. We can talk about our work that we're doing here with sharing those experiences, kind of having a vision, wage slavery.
Yeah, that's quite a good one, to be fair, in the integration. So this is something I failed on in like the first half of my trips, in terms of like sometimes on, especially on LSD and mushrooms, the ones that actually induce more insights, you can grasp them fully, and then sometimes you wake up the next day and it's like a dream that you can't remember, nearly. So do you have like a method? I know that I often do audio recordings and I'll speak just to try and, so that when I'm sober, like, at least I have a memory that I can kind of glimpse back and go, oh yeah. Or do you write stuff down, or do you have like an actual integration method?
Not a specific method, no. It's different kinds of techniques and tools. Like you said, journaling, writing about it right after the experience, like not being in the experience. Sometimes I do that, but sometimes I notice myself like trying to integrate the experience while it is happening. And then I gotta remember myself. It's like, oh no, I'm in the experience. I can experience the experience for now, and then try to integrate it afterwards, and not pull myself out of the experience to integrate it immediately. But sometimes I even do that, like in the experience, doing audio recordings, recording myself on camera, writing stuff down. One thing I've noticed is the mindset of integration. Just like not expecting yourself to be able to integrate every single insight that you had in those experiences. Because in one experience, in a couple of hours, you can have hundreds of insights about all kinds of topics, about your life and about reality and everything. And it's impossible sometimes to remember and integrate everything that you experienced. So first of all, the mindset is kind of important. That has kind of shifted in the last couple of years for me. It's like, oh, okay, I don't have to integrate everything at once. I can, maybe that specific topic that's most relevant for me right now, I can pick that insight and really hone in on that and try to integrate that. Just like, for example, being kind to my family, or being authentic and true to myself. And then in the next experience, maybe I will get an insight about the nature of consciousness and try to integrate that. But like, because you've got an expansion of like 100,000% of your reality, and just to be able to integrate 1% of that expansion, that's a huge progress in your life as a human. So don't care about the other 99,999%, because that 1% that you are able maybe to integrate, that's huge progress. So don't feel bad about not being able to integrate anything else. So that was one specific thing for me that was kind of a nice mindset shift that helped me a lot. Other methods of integration, just like the typical stuff, meditating, taking time off from my phone, like not distracting myself immediately after, maybe having the space and the time to just be in nature, sit with myself silently, contemplate the experience, to really process it and then be with it and reflect on it, and not immediately like go to my next project, go on my phone, connect with other people again. Just like processing and allowing it some time is really nice. Being in nature, meditating, doing yoga and breath work, just like all these good habits kind of are the integration of those experiences. Like being conscious of what I put into my body, everything, all this kind of improvement of your life and of like bettering yourself and being a more whole and healthy being, all that is kind of the integration process. Just like trying to be more aware, trying to be more present with other people, or in your activity that you're doing. So yeah, that's a bunch of integration.
I definitely agree. It's like a more holistic approach, and sometimes you don't actually have to like have a particular method. Like I said, it's more of like, because the insight, I feel it doesn't really leave your subconscious, whether or not you can grasp like, because when you start thinking again in your sober state, you're like, what was I on about? That didn't really make any sense. Sometimes in my experience, but you still have that like inkling, and they often build off of each other, like awakenings and experiences. Like you, one time you'll realize maybe like you just like, for me it was like my financial situation, and then it was like empowerment, and then it was self-love, and then it was love, and then, or not maybe in that order, but yeah. But so I have I think the viewers would, I have a few points that I'd like to ask, but I think one of the main things that the viewers would probably want to hear is, let's say for me, I would say a newcomer, probably mushrooms. Would you agree, maybe? Like, oh, only because it depends. Because I know LSD, like I have a trip report where I took 2 tabs that I didn't test because I thought, oh, I'll take my chances. It was a big mistake, and it was scary as fuck, and it was very, like, it literally hurt my body. It was really weird. So don't do that. So that's why I say to a lot of people, it's not actually the particular substance, it's just mushrooms are, you know what they are. It's not like some powder. It's not a tab. It's a mushroom. So, are you like very experienced with mushrooms, or?
I think I've got the least experience with mushrooms.
Okay.
Well, from the 3 main, like LSD, mushrooms, and DMT, I think I've got least experience with mushrooms. I haven't had mushroom experience for like 2 years now, maybe. But I've had quite a few mushroom experiences.
Okay.
They just haven't come around into my life again. And so I've been focusing on the other ones. But generally, I would agree that mushrooms are good for newcomers, because I've observed some people in their first experiences of LSD, and it's just very long. Just like, even if you're able to handle it for the first 6 hours, still got 6 hours left, maybe. And so
Yeah, I know what
it
you
can
mean.
get
Yeah.
very draining into the later 6 hours of that experience.
Yeah.
DMT can be quite intense, but very like wishy-washy from the insights you gain. So we talked about it. It's like weird experiences that you cannot properly integrate. Mushrooms are nice. Mushrooms are friendly. Well, I learned at least maybe in the beginning.
That's it. They're good with newcomers, right?
Yeah.
And then
I think mushrooms are nice. Or maybe I've met many people who are jumping into ayahuasca directly. For example, more of these like a little bit older people who haven't done anything in their life, not even smoked a cigarette or a joint, and they've all got these misconceptions about LSD or mushrooms, and they just jumped right into ayahuasca because ayahuasca. There's nobody. I don't know, don't say that, but generally there's nobody who's taking ayahuasca recreationally. It's all
yeah,
just in a setting that's for the intention of healing, of looking deep into yourself and having a proper experience. And it's also kind of similar to the mushrooms, like 6 hours, maybe 4 to 10 hours, depends. And you've got space to integrate and work through internal stuff. So yeah, for beginners, maybe ayahuasca or psilocybin.
so I was originally going to ask, is there a particular, I mean, do you have some general advice? I imagine most people listening, like I said, you've had like over 100 DMT trips or something you said, which is just a madness. Like I said, I've probably had like 70 something high dose mushroom experiences, and then so we're quite familiar with those grounds. I'm very confident in my intuition with the mushrooms and psychedelics in general, but most people listening, I assume, have not. Most of my viewers have like not had that many. Most people don't dabble too heavily in them. I take it seriously to my core. Psychedelics are my thing. I imagine they're like your thing as well, because you've got your channel about them. But is there advice for like a noob who's like just going into it? Because I could have definitely done with more. Because like I said, I took 7 grams. I had 2 terror trips that were literally full blown. I was very ignorant. I was 16. I'm only 19 now. But I took 7 grams, and I'd only had 2 3.5 experiences, and they were really good. And I went, oh, I'm gonna take 7 grams. I have a mad video about it. It's like my most entertaining video. But I was like, finally, I'm gonna meet the entities. And then what happened was like the exact opposite of what. All the color like drained from the room. Everything like repeated into itself, and I went into like some suicide spiral shit where I literally wanted. I was like, I have to kill myself, I decided. And it was literally just like full blown and when I come out of it, I literally like hugged my friend. I was trembling. I had no idea that was possible at all. People think they know what mushrooms are, and then you can't dabble with them too heavily, Terence says, without scaring your socks off eventually. And I think that is probably the case. So do you have just some general advice for people
Yeah,
looking to dabble into these substances?
yeah, definitely. So first of all, my first mushroom experience at 16 or 17 was a 5 gram psilocybin experience in silent darkness. And it
First
went
one.
wrong. It was horrible. I couldn't handle it at the time.
Oh
It was
god.
bad.
Yeah,
So
literally.
that's like, oh, that's what I said. Like, listen to Terrence, enjoy him, but like, be a responsible human being and don't do 5 grams of silent psilocybin and silent darkness at 16 in your room alone. It's like could have been nice, but it was horrible. It
Yeah.
was very challenging experience that I was not ready for. It was fine. I'm fine right now. But yeah, when you're beginning to embark on this journey, again, it depends on the individual of how their mindset is, of how stable they are, of how much trauma they have to process, how their mental health is at the moment, like how at which point you are in your life and in your journey. What do you know about spirituality or philosophy? Have any like knowledge about the nature of reality or even thought about it once in your life? And then from there, just like doing that kind of introspection of where you are at, mind from the mindset and just like in your life, just like having that record and that introspection. And then from there you can do your research, discover like what substances are out there, know like that 7 grams of mushrooms is a very high dose, and that you maybe, if you're a little bit anxious about embarking on this journey, you want to start low. Maybe you want to even start with a microdose that you don't even feel anything from. You just take zero point 0.1 grams of a mushroom and you just see. It's like, okay, nothing really happened. And then you build it yourself up from there. You build that relationship maybe to the substance. And then there are different modalities of having an experience. So we both, I imagine you did too, we both embarked on this journey alone. We were alone, we were on ourselves, we are able to take responsibility for ourselves and for our state of being, whatever may happen, even if we are maybe feeling suicidal, and things can go very wrong. They can go, you can get into very dark places. And then you have to decide for yourself. It's like, am I going to be able to handle that alone? Or do I want to have somebody there? So, for example, that's the question of having a trip sitter, having somebody there to watch over you. Then you got to ask yourself, who do I want to have that experience with? Because not everybody in your circle of friends is maybe knowledgeable about how to handle these situations of even watching over yourself. So when you're freaking out and your friend doesn't have any experience with psychedelics, he freaks out as well. Just like he
Yeah.
doesn't know how to handle that.
Mm-hmm.
So like building maybe a support system and having somebody that you can call, or having somebody there that is experienced in those realms, that knows how to facilitate your experience and to watch over you or maybe guide you through that. If you have nobody in your life like that, then you got to seek out the other options. What are the other options? There's therapy, which is really hard to get into these days. It's like we're at the beginning stages of psychedelic research. You can apply for some research projects if you have some troubles with trauma or with mental health issues.
Mm.
But even that process is it's kind of a draining process to even get into there. And then maybe you have one or two experiences, but not even a proper follow up. Or you got to save up the money to go to a psychedelic retreat. There are retreats, underground retreats in Europe, a lot of them. There are proper ayahuasca or psilocybin retreats in Jamaica, Netherlands, Peru, Mexico. So just like, yeah, you gotta see for yourself like which model of experience resonates, and then how you want to embark on this journey. And I would always recommend to start slow, to like research about it, have build up your level of knowledge about these realms and about maybe different religions or spiritual teachings as well, or just like philosophies, just like anything about the nature of reality or about your own self and your own consciousness. And then you can go through the process of maybe forming an intention. So if you just want to have the intention to have fun on these substances and go to a rave with your friends on, I don't know, 25 mics of LSD, then that is your intention, and that's how you can follow through on that. Or if your intention is to work through some internal stuff, just like curiosity, handling trauma, answering different spiritual questions, and then you can maybe do that and do that alone, or as I said, with somebody else. Well, that's just like a little bit of that kind of jam of how to get into those experiences and not burn yourself, because it's like you're playing with a very powerful tool. It's like fire. You can burn down the whole forest, or you can have somebody there who knows how to make a fire and not burn down the whole forest.
Literally, yeah. I think it's probably like the most. I can't lie. I don't know if there's anything more powerful than a
I don't
psychedelic,
think so.
other than like a rod getting pushed through your skull or something. Like, psychedelics are literally like the quintessence of profundity. Right. I would like. So I don't know. It's been about like 40 minutes. Are you happy to let it run to like an hour? Is that decent? Or
I'm fine with any time.
okay. Um. Well, as I said, we can always do another one in the future as well. And I think this has gone really good so far. And I've actually learned a lot. So this will be good, I reckon. But so I have a question in terms of. So for me, and obviously it isn't necessarily the psychedelic, but so I don't know what background you came from can I ask that is, were you like, did your culture or maybe the people around you, or did you discover this and you was normal, and then, because in my experience, what I was going to ask is basically people, when I first found this stuff, and it was about spirituality, the way that my dad puts it, he go like, even though I've been on about it for like years, it's been my thing, spirituality. He said to me not long ago, he was like, "What, do you see spirits, do you?" And I'm like, and so everyone thinks I'm crazy, and I'm sure you've probably had a bit of that, no, where like your culture kind of thinks you're crazy, or
I actually navigated that quite well and smoothly, and I feel really blessed that for myself that it's been that way, because I know many people struggle with culture. So the story I got into psychedelics was actually like the time that I got into psychedelics at around like 15 or 16. I discovered it when I was, I think, 14 or 15. I heard about it for the first time. And I heard about it through just a random YouTube video popped up on my screen. And it was from, either it was Alan Watts or Terence McKenna or Ram Dass. Those three people were like the first people that I've heard talk about psychedelics on YouTube. And it just immediately something clicked in me. And I was like, this is the most interesting thing I've ever heard in my entire life. It's like nobody has talked about it ever in my life up until this point. So I'm really glad that there's YouTube. And then I listened to a lot of Alan Watts and Terence McKenna and Ram Dass. And with that, I immediately got the connection between psychedelics and spirituality, because Ram Dass talks a lot about Hinduism and just like the path of awareness. Alan Watts introduced me to Zen Buddhism, so I started my study of Zen Buddhism at that time. Before, I was studying a little bit of philosophy for myself, at like age 14 or something, and I got into existentialism and nihilism and was kind of depressed about the whole thing, because all those philosophers are depressed. And then I'm like, oh, Alan Watts, he actually sounds kind of fun. It's like Ram Dass, he seems happy. It's like, oh, maybe I want to explore that territory a little bit further. And that's how I discovered it, just for myself. And then I embarked on the journey of searching for these substances, which was kind of difficult because I was just a normal boy at school. And then I got some mushrooms and some LSD in my hands. And I had my first experiences, gained some experience with it. I remember being in the school system, in our education system in the West, and having psychedelic experiences, like especially LSD. That was difficult to get through the last couple of years. Like the last year or two were kind of hard, because before that I was just a robot, kind of not thinking for myself, not just like being raised in this culture. I don't even remember how my thinking process was. I was not thinking about anything. Maybe video games or something, I don't know. But then I kind of woke up, and I started to wake up, and I started to see through all of it, kind of the education system, that this isn't resonating, this is not true, I'm not allowed to express myself authentically. It's like, oh, okay. And that was kind of hard through school, but after school it was way better. Like that's where kind of my life started, and I've navigated that, like being in a culture, quite well. For example, I can talk openly with my parents about psychedelics, which is absolutely amazing. At first, they were against me smoking weed. They were against anything, and they still are. They're not like passionate about it, but just like what I noticed as well is I love to talk about psychedelics. Almost all I talk about is psychedelics in my life. Like almost, not all, but I had to learn the hard way that it's best maybe not to share your passion for psychedelics in that way, just like pushing it into people's face. 100%. So I'm just like trying to integrate my experiences as best as possible into my life. And then my parents were like, oh, you're loving us more. It's like, how did that come about? I'm like, yeah, I had this one mushroom experience that showed me that I should serve you more and love you more. And then I said, oh, That's interesting. So it was just like navigating it in that way, just like letting my actions speak, and then
Mm.
people notice the change in you, or they
Mm-hmm.
noticed the change in me, and they were like, how are you so passionate or so happy in your life?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I've discovered like these psychedelics 5 years ago or something." It's like, "Oh, that's interesting." And then the whole conversation kind of goes from a different perspective. It goes from an interest from the other side, and not me pushing my passion onto them.
And
So, and that's like how I do it, and that's worked really well. So I can have really nice conversations with almost anybody and any strangers. I don't know if it's just like my way of engaging with people, but I'm just like engaging very positively and getting very positive feedback from anybody I meet. But also as well, I'm kind of a loner, so I like to be alone. I need my
me too.
time alone.
Mm.
And that's just how it is. And so I don't see many people. Sometimes I'm not leaving my house for a couple of days or a week or 2 weeks, or I'm just out in nature by myself. And then, but the people I meet or that I set out to meet when I intentionally go to, I don't know, a psychedelic conference, a festival, a nature gathering, different communities, temples, churches, I go out because I kind of sense that maybe like minded people, spiritually minded people, psychedelic minded people are hanging around there. And mostly they are. And then I just connect with those that I resonate with the most, which are people who are open about this stuff, and I just leave those who are completely closed off and no chance of opening them up. I just leave them by the side on their own journey, because everybody's on their own journey, and that's fine. And that's how I just navigated it, and I just still navigate it in our culture.
That's very I'm definitely happy I heard that. So I couldn't agree more, to be honest. The way that it happened for me, as you say, your results spoke for you. So I took them. I was taking mushrooms like every week, twice a week sometimes from 16. Um, didn't really have no responsibility, and like I did go through like a bit where it was like a crash, a mental crash in some, and then like through this, I believe that the psychedelics were partly responsible for many things in my life falling apart. I couldn't hold many responsibilities. Actualize.org puts it, if you abuse them like a lot, then your life does kind of turn upside down. Whether or not you're okay with that, because you're already an integrated human, but my life was very busy. I wasn't ready for it. So there's that. So that's why people weren't open to it, because even though now, especially my mum, I imagine she notices, I'm so like, I'd like to think that I'm so conscious and I'm compassionate, and I, like you say, you see like this happy state of being at your center, and people can see it, and people are starting to take me a lot better these days because I've only just grounded myself. I'm out of like this mad depression that the psychedelics were definitely partly responsible for, in a way, but that's a deep thing. But so it's like your results speak for you, and then people actually care to listen and take you seriously. But if you're, Jordan Peterson puts it perfectly, is if you can't even keep your room clean, who are you to go about reordering the world? And then, as I said earlier, everyone on their spiritual path, they're playing their own game, and you can't expect people to play the same game as you. And it doesn't just go for the spiritual path, it's just in general life. This is what I've had to come to terms with, because originally, the way that I approached psychedelics is I found the Holy Grail. They liberated me from my depression. I was depressed for as long as I can remember, and one LSD trip just like dissolved it immediately. And then so through finding these like quintessence of profundity and just like infinite insights and everything, I was like, I wanted to bring it back to the tribe. And then I was I don't like force it on people, especially not these days. But I could definitely see how I was much more preachy. So I reckon the reason why your answer to my question of did people perceive you as crazy, it's like not so much, because you kept it to yourself and you didn't just come back to the tribe and was like, wake up NPCs, you're sheeple, like And then, but it's hard not to in a sense, because when you
Uh-huh.
awaken to how our culture, so like Instagram, TikTok suppresses these hashtags of psilocybin, and I've got like a mad TikTok coming out where I just like make some fat case of like how it's all a load of bollocks, but it's, and then it's illegal, and then other cultures have been using them from the beginning of time, and then you find them so fundamental to your being that when you realise that everyone's paradigm is wrong, really, I wanted to tell people about it. And then people are like, shut the fuck up, you're on drugs and you're crazy. And I'm like, no, I'm not. So yeah, I mean...
Actually, it was a phase in my life as well that I've been through. I don't remember exactly how it went, but as I said, like in school, I think I was not talking about psychedelics, but I was smoking a lot of weed, and I had like always a couple of grams, a lot of weed with me, so everybody knew when I was in the room, there was weed in the room.
Yeah.
And I was just like trying to be a little rebel and revolutionize the system, and just like getting into fights with my teachers about metaphysical stuff.
Yeah.
Why is my opinion wrong?
That's what I do, to be honest.
You cannot decide if my opinion is wrong just because this book says it's wrong.
Yeah, literally.
And so it's a phase I think anybody goes through, that's like starting their journey of psychedelic exploration. But yeah, as an important point to that is what helped me to be that center and conscious about the conversations that I'm engaging in and how I'm leading them is actually I've never been through such a phase that you've been through of excessively engaging in psychedelics. So I've always kind of had my kind of time between experiences. I always, especially like nowadays, I focus on grounding myself, on being in this reality, being able to hold relationships, being able to, like, I've got my room here and I want to keep that room, so I go to work to pay rent, and that's, even though it's not the job that I desire to be in, and sometimes it feels like a prison, I still do it. I still am grounded in this reality because I want to, especially that's because I want to share this picture of being able to be grounded and engaging deeply into psychedelic journeys out into the world, so I can show people like, hey, look, I'm able to provide for myself. I'm not afraid to go to a shitty job to pay rent and still build my vision on the side. It's like being here, being grounded. I can buy my own food, or if I want, I can just leave it all behind and live in nature. And it's like I've got friends who are doing that, just like living without money. If I decide to do that, I could. I decide to be grounded into this culture for now. I don't know how it will follow through and develop into the future. But for now, I can show people, it's like, look, I'm living healthy. I'm taking care of myself. I'm enjoying my passions. I have free time. I'm working on a vision. I'm able to pay rent and pay for good food and cook good food for myself. And that's about it. You don't need anything more. You need a place to live, a little bit of food, and then just go about enjoying to build up your life. That's like the most important insight that psychedelics show me over and over again. So be grateful for where you are at and like what you have, because you are alive. This life is a gift, and you are in a position to build up your life, no matter how long it takes. Like my vision that I have, it's probably gonna take me 30 to 40 years to realize that ultimate vision, and I'm fine with that. So I'm just like reminding myself, and sometimes I forget as well, of course we all do, but reminding myself that this is a journey and that I'm allowed to enjoy this journey and every step of it, and just like take it all in, the highs and the lows, and the struggles and the challenges and the good moments and the loving moments, the laughter and the pain, just like everything.
Yeah.
And it's hard sometimes, of course it is.
Yeah, you definitely, like, even just then saying that, it's like, take it all in. You're like, you're right. You often forget that you're in the present moment, as if you're always progressing to do something. But I couldn't agree more. That's what my parents would say as well. Because when shit was going down with me, I said, it's not even about the mushrooms. They were like, no, it's not about the mushrooms. It's just about your inability to be a responsible human. And yes, perhaps the kind of losing the plot on the heavy psychedelics is somewhat fundamentally to do with the obligations of our culture, because other cultures, like, they're not so, they don't have such demanding nature necessarily. But I couldn't agree more. It's like if you can prove, and this has been my, well, I feel like I have a responsibility now, being who I've been publicly, is that if I now fuck this up and go off the rails, I've like kind of portrayed a message that I was the psychedelic guy and look what I ended up into. So it's now like my responsibility. Like I will never kill myself. I will never, and I have a responsibility to build a good life and show people. And this is actually my vision. Simply is that I've talked about my situation, the poverty, the wage slavery, and now my vision's like, you're gonna watch me escape the grid and go like explore other cultures and use psychedelics as powerful tools, and then as I manifest a profound reality, I can kind of prove that I was the psychedelic guy and I got from A to B to where I wanted. But if I am the psychedelic guy and I go from A to committing suicide and being all sad and shit, then obviously I've kind of failed and I've kind of betrayed a negative image of the psychedelic. So that's just it. If you can still live an actualized life, which is your channel, psychedelic actualization, then that's what it's all about. You don't take them, and then if your life's falling apart, obviously you just kind of devalidate it because they're used for personal development. And if you're not personally developing, then you're kind of not using them properly.
Yeah, very similar to my process, because I'm also just documenting my journey of realizing that vision. And I have that vision in mind, and it's not fully accomplished yet.
Yeah.
I'm just at the very start, and I'm documenting that process and my insights and experiences along the way. And also to the psychedelic, the heavy psychedelic use. I've never done it for now, just like maybe a couple times a week, besides ayahuasca retreats or maybe DMT. But like really intensively going into a psychedelic use, and I'm kind of tempted to try it, and I feel the calling to go way deeper, but I'm also hell shit of afraid to go that deep, because I know I will face facets of reality that I've never faced before, and there's gonna be very challenging experiences, but I feel like it's my path, it's my passion to, I don't know how soon it's going to be, if it's going to be next year or the year after, or maybe just in 5 years, to indulge deeply into that space of like, and see what it does to my consciousness and my ability to be a responsible human being in our culture.
Yeah, see, you take it a lot slower, certainly. Like, when the first time I ever got mushrooms, I brought an ounce and a half, because I was like, finally, I found somebody, and they were deemed so sacred that I was like, I'm going to get as much as I can. And then I thought that they would go bad, like they'd go off over time. So that is literally why because I was like, I need to get them gone, I can't just have them hanging around, which was so, like, I was so ignorant, I had no idea. I was a very unhealthy, skinny teenage boy. So I was taking them whenever I could. As some of my friends, they were like, you literally take them whenever you have a day off. And I was actually happy to get rid of them, because I didn't want to do it. Like I say, I had my terror trip, I had another one not long after, and I was still like, I can't just leave them sat there. I don't know why I didn't just go on Google, do mushrooms go bad? No. So when I had the final dose, I was like, I'm glad that mental journey was over, because that was too much. But in terms of you going deeper, a lot of my friends have been saying this, and I feel like this is something that a lot of people miss out on. Especially, so you're not super, like, you still had a lot of mushroom experiences, but I think mushrooms is what a lot of people, I feel like they, because it's my thing, so I don't know anything else. But like Terrence says, mushrooms is his thing out of all of them. Like, the mushrooms love him, he loves them. They take you on journeys. And I find like Leo Gura, for example, pretty sure like he only barely messes with like, because he'd done 5-MeO DMT every day for 30 days straight, and then he literally like met God, and like, I mean, it's a madness. But I feel super, like Terence, for example, he took 8 grams of psilocybin magic mushrooms every day for 7 days. And
Was
then
it that one in La Chorrera?
I don't know where he done it, but
I've read his book, and his
really?
brother Terence going crazy in the Amazon because he just took too many mushrooms.
yeah, I don't know where it was, but I feel like the idea of like going balls to the wall with psychedelics, as Leo puts it, is like a lot of people, I feel they miss out. Someone even said, they said to Terence in the audience, they were like, I don't think you've taken enough psychedelics, and he's like, yeah, I think you're quite right. It's like, even though, because they're like infinite, it's not like you'll take them and then reach, you know, once you hear the message, hang up the phone. It's like, nah, the phone is infinite. The message
It's true, yeah, it's true. That's what I've discovered for myself as well. It's I have to say, I think it is not for everybody. It is not for everybody to go that deep, because I don't even know at that point, after hundreds of experiences and going very deep, and I feel like I just dipped my toes into the waters of this infinitely deep ocean of psychedelic realms. It's crazy. It's absolutely mind blowing how deep this stuff goes. And I had one ayahuasca experience in Peru last year. It was about a year ago. I haven't even shared it on my channel. I'm going to share it in the future. But it's like I still didn't felt ready to share that experience for now. It just took me so deep that I questioned even all my psychedelic use. It took me to such a deep place of confronting death that I was like, this shit is way too insane. It's like, I'm never gonna touch any psychedelic ever again. And then the next day I drank again, but like it put me into that space, and that was the first time that I went to that place of, because I approached it carefully. I had all my experiences. After hundreds of experiences, I thought, like, I can handle it. I can surrender. I'm good at letting go. I know the space. I want to go as deep as possible with ayahuasca.
That's
So
what
I
I'm
went,
like
did a
now,
14-day ayahuasca retreat
Fuck.
in Peru.
14.
Had like it was 8 ceremonies in 14
Jesus
days.
fucking hell.
And every night, kind of the first week was kind of just physical, and then the second week got a little bit more visionary, and the 7th night was like the deepest. And I told the shamans, like, I want to get more, give me more. Every night I told them, like, give me more ayahuasca. I want to go as deep as possible. And he's like, tranquilo amigo, he's like, go slow. It's like, I know.
That's what I imagine I'd be like.
And yeah, that 7th night, it just took me out. It completely played with my sense of reality. Time skips, almost shitting and vomiting myself. Just insane stuff, like insane stuff. And that was my first experience of being at a point of like, okay, I don't know if I want to go this path any further, any deeper.
Yeah.
And I reflected on it. I integrated that experience. I'm still integrating that experience a year later. I had a year-long break from ayahuasca. I just recently, like a couple of weeks ago, did my first ayahuasca experience a year later. And it was funny synchronicity. It was on the same day as that experience, and I didn't even knew it.
Jeez.
I didn't knew it. I was just that opportunity was popping up. I was going to this ayahuasca retreat here, and on the day of the ayahuasca retreat, on the night, I noticed it was exactly that night that I had my traumatic ayahuasca experience 1 year ago. Jeez. I was like, shit, here we go again. but it was a good experience. It was a subtle, fine experience. But yeah, just like being at that point, and just like when I can ask myself that question, I think every true psychonaut will get to this point of like questioning their use of like, do I want to go deeper? Because it just takes you to very, very deep places. But yeah, I mean, it's my passion. I'm gonna go deeper, definitely. I'm gonna confront these parts of myself, because it's all just parts of myself that I'm confronting. It's all parts of reality. It's all parts of consciousness and of God that we are confronting in these states. And sometimes we're not like able to fully let go, surrender, and just like experience it fully and take it in fully. And we have resistances that go very, very deep into our being that we're not even aware of, even though we like to think of ourselves as these spiritually advanced people. um, yeah, but just a word that this journey is not for everybody. I think it
Yeah.
can be valuable for a lot of people to try psychedelics, to dabble into it, to just discover, tap their toes into the water, just like get a little bit water on your hands, maybe, not just go swimming or drowning in the ocean. Um, I think that's very valuable, and from there you can decide if you want to go deeper and embark on this journey even further.
I think the curiosity that me and you had is very important. Like, it's not like you're obligated to take it, and because we're like interested in it, that kind of sets the scene. I have one more question for you. I quickly got to use the toilet because I'm literally dying here, but I'll be back in a second. Did you want to break for a second, or?
I don't care.
All right, I'll literally be two
I'll leave you
seconds, and then I've got one more question for you. Yo yo. So the only question I have for you now is, just to wrap it up, just in the biggest picture perspective, just of life in general. I know this is a difficult question, but is there, like, for example, Actualize says self-love, the only teaching in the universe. Is there, like, do you have like a fundamental philosophy, or like basically, what is the lesson, if there is one, of that you've learned just through your whole life, through the spiritual path? Is there any like fundamental, somewhat like advice, like what is the deepest lesson kind of universally, if you can even answer that question?
My sweater says it. It's like
Yeah.
God is love. That is one thing I've started to realize, and it's like defining the words God and love is a long journey. I'm at the
Mm.
very beginning of this journey. This is kind of my inspiration to go about this journey, to discover, contemplate, realize, and integrate this insight, or just see what it means for myself, of like God is love. And we can talk about hours of what is God or what is love. It's like just like for my own self, that really resonates, and that's like one universal truth that I think is true, and
Mm.
I don't I consciously speak of it as I think is true, because I don't know if it's true. I have had glimpses into that truth, but I have not fully awakened and realized to that truth. I've had God awakenings. I've had awakenings into this inside of God is love, and I've fully basked into the bliss of it. But I feel integrating that insight and really living it on a day to day, moment to moment basis is a journey that I'm on. And the second highest truth, the second lesson that I've learned on my life is just, as I said earlier, just to enjoy every step of that journey of realizing that truth. Just like really having fun, taking it all in, enjoying the process, and doing everything that's included in that. Just like be kind to people, be true to yourself is another good one. Just like I over the years I tapped more and more into my authentic being, and being allowing myself to express that authenticity truly in my life, and that's been working wonders for me. I've I was like just like thinking back 5 years or something. I was not very social person. I think I would never make friends in my life, or whatever the stuff is that everybody's worried about. Everybody's got their own troubles. But being true and authentic to myself has opened up so much. Just like being in that truth,
Mm.
speaking truth, being honest with myself, and being completely honest with other people of what I feel like in that moment has worked wonders for me. that's been changing and shaped my life in such a way that I feel so blessed to have so many amazing people that I attracted now into my life. And like, yeah, just like the third one is maybe a little bit individual for everybody, but I feel for myself, discovering and defining a life purpose and a vision for myself that I can work towards
Hmm.
is another big thing that has shaped my life in a way and brought me fulfillment. No other thing has. No relationship, no experience, nothing has brought me more fulfillment in my day-to-day life than looking deep within to myself, seeing what I want to provide out into the world, what I want to share, what my gift is that I can give to this world, and then realizing that vision and going at it every day, just like I'm really obsessed with my life purpose and with my vision of sharing the education about these substances and guiding people through their own experiences and helping them integrate their experiences and helping them to realize this statement of the highest truth of God is love. And that's I think that are my top three that just came to my mind. There are a lot of different insights, but
Yeah,
those three I feel like are the core of my being of my
definitely.
path for now.
You hit the nail on the head on all of them, I can't deny. So we literally, for the most part, share the same vision, and I definitely agree. One thing about, if you cultivate like a tribe of people who are on the same mission as well, it's like, it's really, well, like when I meet up with some friends in the flesh and we're all like have the same vision, it's like next level. But what you were saying is like, so you discover your true self by going within, and then all like everyone around me, like my father, he said, "Well, go within." They kind of like just disregard the whole idea of like going within and finding answers within yourself. So you discover your true self, your true identity, who you really are. You discover your core values, and then through that, you can cultivate a life purpose. And when I first heard about life purpose, I was like, it was from actualize.org. I was like, I don't care if life has a purpose. I've accepted that it's all meaningless. But that's just a misinterpretation. It's more of like you, yes, that, sure, that could be the case. Um, like nihilism, but it's more about, right, you're going to play the game. So what are you going to like do in the game? And that basically is your life purpose, is what are you here to do? Most people are pretty directionless, and this is also my life purpose as well. So we share the same of just, and you're exactly right. I get so much fulfillment from doing exactly what I'm doing right now, because I know that people are going to know what I was about, know the message, and I'm actually doing good. And especially with the psychedelic renaissance, it's like the more people get on this, the more people make their own personal development channels and diaries and that, and share it and try to help people. It's like we're just cultivating a more conscious, well, we're becoming aware of each other, making connections, and then just in general just making a more loving world. So when you have your life purpose, you're no longer just a leaf blowing in the wind. You have direction, and that is where the fulfillment is. And then the other thing, well, about God is love, I'm in the same place as you about realizing it literally took it was quite a while ago, like a few months, but that's when I really, like, first I realized self-love is where you, self-love and self-respect is where you, that's your center, that's where you need to move from. But then love is in God is love. And for those who think that sounds like insanity, God, I imagine you would define as reality, consciousness, right?
Mhm.
So the love realization for me came especially through contemplating death. Is the idea of it switching off in this instant, and the pain that we bear is in the physical realm. It's like you hear pain is love, and it's like the reason why you bear this pain is to not be like, because the way I thought about this is like, if you literally died now and you was like a phantom ghost just going through houses of your family and your room, or if you left your body and you were just observing your body, and like you could no longer interact with the physical realm. It's like the reason that you burden this weight that you feel, like you're sat in your body, and then that leaves room for disease and pain. Well, that is like the fuel for the incarnation into the physical realm. And it's like, why is it all love? It's because it's literally like a fairy tale. I had this on a psychedelic life. Oh, it froze. When you look at your life in the big picture perspective, you see you, all your stories, all your family, all the dogs, all the animals, all the relationship, and it's like some mad, literally, story that just comes out of consciousness, and it's like fantasy world. And then for some reason that with the contemplation of death just makes me think like, I think death makes people realise love, is what I'm trying to say. I don't mean to go on a fat rant, but that's what I realised not too long ago anyway, is that the contemplation of this story being put to an end can make you very grateful to be here.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Death is a huge topic. Huge thing.
Yeah.
As I said, the traumatic ayahuasca experience touched upon it. It actually went the other way around. I was realizing that God is love, and after that realization, I realized that I would have to die for that to go into that truth.
Yeah. I'm the infinite.
You're right.
Yeah, death for me, it's like a lot of people just completely don't think about it at all. It's the teacher, if not contemplating death. Like, I thought about it before, like, oh yeah, I can accept that I won't be here. It goes a lot deeper than that. Death is...
It goes a lot deeper. I always thought from the beginning of my spiritual journey and discovering Zen Buddhism and all that kind of shebang, I thought I was fine with dying right now. I always thought it for years.
Yeah.
And then ayahuasca showed me. It's like, okay, so then now's the time. You're dying right now.
Literally.
How are you gonna handle that? And I'm like, I could let go of a lot of stuff, but where it stopped for me was letting go of my awareness. So I could let go of my family. I could let go of my life purpose. I could let go of my body. I could let go of everything. And then it asked me that I would basically faint and let go of awareness and consciousness itself. I was in that state. I was like, no. I was like, please let me be aware of dying for a couple hours more, but I don't want to lose consciousness right now.
Yeah.
and that's how deep it goes. It's unimaginably deep.
Yeah.
And that's from that day on. I was like, maybe I'm gonna contemplate death a little bit more and study death and read the Tibetan Book of the Dead and just integrate that experience in that way. Death is huge.
100%. I think is it the I don't know who said it. I don't know if it's a particular. It's kind of universal in spirit. But have you ever heard the term? The mission is somewhat to die before you die, to contemplate death so deeply, to basically embody the knowledge of as if you wasn't here anymore, but you're still here. And then that's what kind of made me realize. And then it wasn't just like, oh, I realized everything is love. It's like I often, especially working at retail, I judge a lot of people because I just don't want to be there. I'm judging the customers, I'm judging the colleagues because they're fat and they're unhealthy, and I'm like, oh. But then like when I saw them after this insight, I'm like, I have nothing but love for everything and everybody, and I can't. It doesn't matter who anybody is. It's like this center that everyone operates from. It doesn't matter if you're Hitler. You're just like a being trying to navigate the matrix. And with that compassion of no one asked to be here as far as we're aware right now. But you know what I mean? It's like compassion, forgiveness, love at the center of everything. And I've said that for a long time, before I even realised super deeply.
True. And that's why psychedelics are so amazing. They can help us to get to that point of dying before dying. Because we can have an experience of death and experience it as a true death and go through that experience. And we can come out reborn, kind of. I was reading this book, LSD and the Mind of the Universe. can really recommend that one. And Mr. Bachet, I think he's called, talking about a death rebirth process. So he did about 70, 80 high dose LSD sessions of like 600 mics of LSD just internally. And he was coming up with this concept of death and rebirth. And he was dying over and over and over again. And at one point he thought he couldn't die anymore, and he found ways to die some more. And then after came, it's like this circle of death and rebirth that goes on and on and on and on. And yes, psychedelics can help us to go through the process. Probably other techniques can as well, like breath work or some other crazy stuff. But psychedelics are very effective at that, I would say.
They're the fuel, as how Terence puts it. It's like they're the fuel to get to what the spiritual community are about. We have the actual fuel, and the way you put it as well, because I started my journey through a deep seeking of existential questions. It was always a deep intuition I could never shake, that no one cared about this stuff. And then the way that Terence puts it is the spiritual community, we feel like we've actually found the answers. Like, it's so conventionally taught that, you can never know, it's just armchair philosophy, but the psychedelics are literally the fuel to existential insights, and I'm pretty sure they get you to the fundamentals, and they're mad. But then so Leo Gura was saying how you said that guy was dying to himself over and over again. That happened to Leo as well on his 30 days of 5-MeO DMT straight, which is called Outrageous Experiments in Consciousness. He said he at one point he was just like drowning in love, dying to himself forever, like dying to himself, and then that's it, just apparently dying to. I've been in states where I literally messaged a very disassembled message to my sister while I was on that 7-gram terror trip, and I was like, I'm literally dead. I was as far as I was aware, I was not alive, and I was also like, I was conscious. So I remember the dialogue of I've lost my mind. But yeah, it's a madness.
That's true. And what you were talking about, life is meaningless. That's another good one, I think. I think to have that perspective of, in the end, it doesn't matter. In the end, it truly is. Maybe it has a meaning. I don't know. Maybe it's in the end it's truly meaningless. To be aware of that and just like don't take anything too seriously in the back of your mind, to have that liberation, that knowing of the liberation of this is Maya, this is Lila, this is a play, this is the illusion that we are engaging in and indulging in. Being aware of that, and that in the end it doesn't matter what you're doing here. It just doesn't. But still, then actively, consciously engaging in the play, engaging in the illusion, enjoying it, because this is what we're here to do. I mean, what else is there to do? Maybe kill ourselves, but who knows what other dimensions come after that. It's like just being aware of that liberated freedom, of that all-encompassing freedom, and not taking anything like too seriously, but still then engaging consciously in everything that you're doing. And like, for example, I take my vision very seriously in this realm. Like, I'm engaged in this realm, I'm engaged in this reality, and I'm engaged in taking care of my human body. But I'm try to remind myself to be aware of that full-on liberation and that freedom that is beyond this human realm. That is the absolute freedom.
I know exactly.
That is still my true self and your true self.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it's like and this is the root of so much depression. Is that like the way that you think about it and the way that you interpret your situation is that it's basically you're taking it too seriously. Like my health, I got very neurotic about health. I still am, but it's like when like I'm in a unhealthy situation or I'm in something that threatens my limited form, I'd be like, oh no, my vision, oh no, and like it would literally crush my fucking soul. But then you've got to understand that when it doesn't matter, you've got to play it as if it does, but you've also got to be aware, that there's that there's ultimately liberation, and in the present moment, no, it doesn't matter. And I mean, like, there is meaning to be cultivated, so that it doesn't mean that it literally doesn't matter. It's like you have to create it, but ultimately, it's actually the best case scenario that it doesn't matter. I've said for ages, for years actually, before I even got super spiritual, is that death is actually a safety net. It's like, it doesn't matter who kidnaps you or tortures you or what car accident you get into. You only got a finite amount of time, and that clock is ticking. And when that finishes ticking, you will be where you need to be. So you've literally, there's a timer. So everything you're taking so seriously, again with death, it's all gonna go. And that's really liberation, to know that you are actually completely free because it doesn't matter. So if it did matter, people think, oh, it doesn't matter, that's shit. Well, actually, if it did matter, you'd be stressing, like, why there's a depression epidemic, because everyone thinks it does matter. So when I say it doesn't matter, don't be so pessimistic. It's like, well, you're suffering because you think it matters.
It's a paradox. And reality is full of paradoxes. Literally. And as Leo likes to say, that's not a bug, it's a feature.
Literally, yeah.
Reality.
Well, I don't know about you, but I think that was very good. I'm happy to end it there. We can always come again in the future, but I think that was by far the best interview or podcast I've ever done. So thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for inviting and reaching out to me. I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. I hope we could provide some value to anybody who's watching. And yeah, definitely sometime in the future again.
Very epic. All right, well, everybody who actually listened to that and watched, thank you very much. You were helping me on my vision, and helping Virgo here on his mission. And that's it. Thank you very much. This will be on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and I'll leave all the links in the description of when that is the case. But that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Is there any final thing you wanted to add potentially, Virgo, or are you done here?
I would just say thank you to everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. You can check out my channel, Psychedelic Actualization. Other than that, I hope you have a great day. Thank you very much.
That's right. I'll leave him linked at the top of the description, and that's it. And all right. Well, thank you very much, everybody, and goodbye.